Energy Infrastructure and Future Alternative Energy Potential for the State of Nebraska by Tyler Stricker and Matthew Hitch.
Nebraska's energy production. Only 42.5% of Nebraska's energy consumption is internally produced. In 2013, natural gas and crude oil accounted for 4.7% of the energy produced in Alaska. 19.4% of that energy that is produced is from nuclear electric power. The rest of the energy comes from renewables, which is 75.9%.
Electricity production for October of 2015. 10.3% of the electricity produced came from renewable resources. 2 nuclear power plants produced 29.5% of the state's electricity, while coal provided the remaining 60.2% of the state's electricity.
Nebraska's energy consumption. In 2014, Nebraska ranked 7th in the nation in total energy consumption per capita, whereas they ranked 33rd in the U.S. in total energy consumption. The industry in Nebraska is the 3rd highest consumer of electricity in the United States, and in 2013, the industry sector accounted for 42.7% of the energy consumed within Nebraska.
Political and societal energy issues. The Nebraska Energy Office has a program that offers loans at 5% interest or less for property improvements that reduce energy consumption. Nebraska offers a sales and use tax exemption for community wind projects. Nebraska also has incentives for the use of alternative fuels, the purchase of alternative fuel vehicles, and the construction or purchase of alternative fuel fueling stations.
Nebraska's alternative and renewable energy sources. It is estimated that 92% of Nebraska has suitable conditions for wind-powered electricity. In one calendar year, Nebraska's electricity generation from wind has increased 45%. Nebraska has 2 nuclear powered plants, which produces 30% of its overall electrical power. Nebraska produces 11 million dry tons of biomass each year, which puts it into the top 10 of states in biomass production. Most of the biofuels are created from crop stovers, which is essentially crop waste. Biomass generation has increased 1,500% since 2001. In 2014, Nebraska generated the 2nd most corn-based ethanol in the nation.
Implementation recommendation. Reduce the use of coal. Coal produces 60% of Nebraska's electricity. Using less coal would not only benefit the environment, but would also help the quality of air for citizens. Use incentives or taxes to encourage industries to move away from coal to renewable energy sources. Future plans would include to continue to increase the number of wind farms, tap into geothermal potential on the western side of the state, update hydroelectric power to make more efficient.
Here are the pros and cons of implementing our plan. The pros would be a reduction in soot and CO2 emissions and tax breaks for using alternatives and renewable fuels. The cons would be consumption of lots of land, and that could also disturb ecosystems, wildlife, and biomass still produces CO2. Here are our sources. Any questions?